$110 billion. That's a figure sparking debate around immigration law enforcement plans. Accompanying this proposal are increased immigration fees and cuts to social services for those trying to legally enter the United States. If you thought deportation only affects undocumented immigrants, you might want to keep listening. These bills could have deeper impacts that not everyone immediately sees. Stay tuned until the end of this video, because these seemingly distant changes may be directly affecting your life and your families in unexpected ways. Analyzing the impact of the $110 billion immigration enforcement plan. What's behind the number? $110 billion. That's the figure causing controversy in the U.S. Congress as the House enters the final week of April to consider a series of proposals related to immigration, borders, and the national budget. But what's being discussed is not simply an immigration management issue. Within the same proposal are plans to increase immigration fees and cut social services for those trying to legally enter the United States. This combination highlights a larger question. Could policies seemingly aimed at immigrants quietly spread and affect American citizens as well? Impact on local economies, agriculture, construction, and elderly care. In many states like California, Texas, and Florida, local economies depend heavily on immigrant labor, especially in agriculture, construction, and elder care. A University of Georgia study shows that when this workforce is depleted, not only does productivity decrease, but input costs rise sharply. This leads to higher food prices and increased labor costs, and American consumers pay the price in their daily lives despite having no connection to immigration. Increased pressure on welfare and public health systems. Moreover, the public health system may also be affected. When immigrants no longer qualify for basic health services, they often must resort to emergency rooms, where costs are many times higher, largely paid for with federal funds. According to analysis from the National Immigration Law Center, this could overwhelm public hospitals, indirectly affecting elderly people and those using Medicare and Medicaid, people completely unrelated to the immigration system, increased domestic military spending, reduced social budgets. At the same time as immigration enforcement budgets increase dramatically, budgets for other areas such as education, healthcare, or assistance programs for elderly and disabled people, already tight, will face pressure to be cut. This indirectly affects millions of Americans receiving SSI, SSDI, SNAP, or housing assistance. Increased deportation risk for undocumented immigrants. For undocumented immigrants, they face a higher risk of deportation than ever before. For many of them, America is where they've lived, worked, and raised children, many of whom are American citizens. But just because they lack documentation, they could be forced to leave the country within weeks. This isn't just about losing assets, but the risk of family separation. Increased cost burden for legal immigrants. As for legal immigrants, those who follow the law, pay taxes in full, and wait years for residency status, the price they pay isn't about politics. It's about reality. Visa application fees are proposed to increase. Naturalization costs too. But what concerns many people more is they're gradually losing access to basic support programs like Medicaid, SNAP, or affordable housing. Though they've done nothing wrong, they're being removed from benefits simply because of changing criteria. Not just immigration control, it's about budget and community. It cannot be denied that with any major policy, especially related to immigration and budget, there are always two sides to consider. From the government's perspective, proposing increased immigration enforcement budgets is explained as a step to strengthen national security, ensure system fairness, and reallocate resources to priorities deemed more urgent. With increasing migrant flows in many border areas, the government argues that clearer control is necessary to ensure order, stability, and more effective management of the welfare system. For them, this isn't just a tightening policy, but an effort to adjust to ensure that government support truly reaches the right people for the right purposes. At the same time, increasing immigration fees or reconsidering access to certain social programs is argued as a way to share responsibility so that legal immigrants with genuinely necessary conditions can access resources while avoiding system overload. But parallel to that goal are impacts that we, people living in America, need to clearly understand. Because a policy may be strategically correct, but still bring unforeseen consequences to vulnerable groups or those outside the focal target. When budgets are reallocated, when procedures become stricter, sometimes not only immigrants are affected but also ordinary people living on essential supports like SNAP, Medicaid, SSI, or housing subsidies. This isn't to question policy objectives, but to understand that in a large system, changes in one place can spread to many others. And if you're not in the immediately affected group, that doesn't mean you won't feel the consequences in the coming months, through medical bills, through waiting times for health care, or through gradually decreasing support levels you weren't aware of. That's why actively monitoring, updating, and understanding policy is essential in the current context. Not to worry, not to take sides, but so you and your family can make appropriate choices, be ready for approaching changes, and not be caught unprepared. Because when you clearly understand what's happening, you not only protect your own interests, but can also help those around you understand and prepare better, in a system that's moving day by day. After all these proposed changes, what's truly important isn't just knowing, but understanding. What can you do right now to actively protect yourself and your family? For those living in unstable immigration situations, the most urgent thing is to review all documents, personal files, and residency status to ensure no errors could cause you to be considered in administrative violation. If you're in the process of applying for a visa, renewal, or naturalization, research carefully about changes in fees, processing times, and eligibility criteria, because just being late by a few weeks could leave you vulnerable before new policies take effect. Additionally, actively connecting with reputable community organizations or legal centers shouldn't be delayed. Not to react in fear, but to be prepared with accurate, lawful information when quick decisions are needed. If you're using support programs like Medicaid, SNAP, or SSI, update yourself regularly about access conditions, because some changes may require re-verification or file adjustments that you need to know about early. For those not in immigrant groups but still feeling effects from prices, healthcare costs, or slowing public services, you also have an important role. Following policy news is no longer someone else's job. It's a survival habit if you want to plan finances, healthcare, or support family members around you. At the same time, participating in dialogue spaces in your community, workplace, or local organization is a way for you not just to listen, but to contribute your voice about what's really happening in your life. Being proactive doesn't mean opposition. It's the first step to not being left behind in a system that's moving daily. And action today, however small, may be the strongest preparation for what's approaching. The new immigration policy, with a proposed budget of up to $110 billion, is seen as an effort by the administration to strengthen border control and readjust the social support system. But alongside that clear objective are impacts that could spread widely, from the health system, welfare budget, to everyday life for people not directly related to immigration. Understanding these changes isn't for worrying, but for being proactive, for your interests and your families. If you want to continue following deeper analysis about how policies can affect daily life, watch our next video. We'll walk you through these changes in an active, clear, and practical way.